Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. A Virginia farm leader returned to her roots. Chef Tammy Brawley has a homemade treat for us. And we see how students learn to process local meat products.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from Virginia State University's Randolph Farm, where they have a unique educational program that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But first, Burke Muller reports a pioneering farm leader shared some encouraging news with Virginia farmers.
Hello, everybody.
Dr. Jewell Bronner returned to her Virginia roots as the keynote speaker at Virginia Farm Bureau Federation's annual convention. Bronner, who currently serves as Deputy Secretary of Agriculture for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, said the agency remains committed to bringing American agricultural products to both long-standing and new overseas markets.
Some of our greatest export growth are in those so-called emerging markets. Southeast Asia, for example, Africa. Countries like Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand have seen rapid GDP growth, expanding middle classes, lots of urbanization, an increasingly modern retail food system, and they value American agricultural products.
Amid Americans' anxiety over high gas prices and growing inflation, Bronner stressed the positive economic trends the agriculture sector has seen in recent years.
Our U.S. agricultural trade has proven extraordinarily resilient in the face of global challenges and in a challenging economy. So we closed out the 2021 fiscal year with a record agricultural export number of $172 billion, up 23% from FY 2020.
In an exclusive interview with Real Virginia, Bronner explained how her experiences at the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services helped her service at the national level.
Coming from the state, I think I have a unique perspective of understanding the importance of getting those programs rolled out at the federal level in the right way and in partnership with the states, because the state is the connection to the rubber meeting the road.
And so before you were named Deputy Secretary, one of the issues that was really important to you, and now is obviously still important to you, is mental health, and specifically how that regards to farmers and agriculture. Mm-hmm. What are you doing at the USD level to help with that?
First of all, that's a great question. And you know, here in Virginia, before I went to USDA, just being closely engaged with meeting our ag producers here in Virginia, and really I think specifically about some of our dairy farmers here in Virginia who, they work 365 days a year, often without a break. I realized it was a really pervasive issue. I'll fast forward at USDA, we've been able to release the funding to 50 state departments of agriculture. Mm-hmm. And so $500,000 has come to the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, leading that charge of really trying to address behavioral health awareness, literacy, and an understanding of the impacts of stress on our farmers and ranchers.
Bronner also spelled out some of the priorities most important to her at USDA, including combating climate change, closing the digital divide with more resources for rural broadband, and advancing equity in hiring at the agency. She also stressed some of the likely priorities of the next Farm Bill in 2023.
USDA's job is really to kind of really carry out the Farm Bill that Congress puts together. But I would imagine, a lot of important work we do in that nutrition space in getting nutrition assistance out to the states and our local communities, to schools, to ensure that people have the food that they need to eat, the nutrition that they need. That's going to be work that I'm sure will continue. So, you know, we've been able through the pandemic to extend waivers that have allowed additional nutrition assistance, and hopefully in the next Farm Bill there will be some resources that will be locked in so that, you know, we can continue to provide those flexibilities and those waivers and those resources.
Bronner became the first African American deputy secretary at USDA when she was confirmed by the U.S. Senate in May of 2021, a pioneer in her industry, making a proud return home. In Williamsburg, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
One of President Abraham Lincoln's most historic achievements was creating the Department of Agriculture in 1862. The first commissioner of agriculture was a New Jersey farmer named Isaac Newton, who had served as chief of the agricultural section at the U.S. Patent Office. The first roles of the department were to collect and share statistical information about the industry, test agricultural implements, conduct chemical analysis of soils, crops, and manures, and establish a national agricultural library. Today's USDA does all that and far more, with oversight of a $146 billion budget for agricultural research, conservation, and food assistance programs.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up, I'm in the garden. I'm going to talk about an invasive pest that is destroying valuable trees. Stay with us.
We're stronger together, especially at this difficult time. For over 90 years, we've watched our membership grow, and we're honored to be part of such a special community. Thank you to the farmers who provide for us every day. Virginia Farm Bureau is proud to serve our members, their families, and to give back to our local communities. That's the Farm Bureau way.
If you have ash trees in your garden or yard, you need to be on your guard for an invasive pest. Mark Viette warns us about the emerald ash borer in the garden.
There's a reason why you don't want to pack plants in your suitcases if you're traveling to some other countries. There's a reason why they don't want to transport firewood to too many far distant locations. The problem is you could be spreading a potential new invasive pest or a current invasive pest. And here is a great example of a pest, luckily, but and it's not a good thing, it really only affects one type of tree. I don't find it on oak trees, I don't find it on walnut trees, but it's known as the emerald ash borer. Came into this country many years ago. It is spread across the country, and it is wiping out, or has wiped out, our beautiful ash trees. Now, these ash trees are used in many cases for baseball bats. It's a special kind of wood, axe handles, sledgehammer handles, so there is a good use. But what happens is you'll start to notice the bark peeling off. This bark has been peeling off for about a year and a half. In the spring, you'll see piles of the peeled bark of this tree. Underneath this bark, I'll show you in a minute, the little runways that the emerald ash borer causes underneath the tree. There are little holes in this tree, and the borers underneath the tree. Once you have this problem and your tree looks like this, it is dead. Now, this is our woods. We don't care if the trees fall down. I leave them up for the woodpeckers to make nests, for woodpeckers to feed on the borers. But in garden situations, you're probably going to have to remove this tree. By the time fall comes, this tree will have no green foliage. It'll be completely dead. And you're going to see why right now. You don't see a lot of damage yet. But when you peel the bark off, you can see all the runways from the borer. You can see all the runways from the borer in the bark. So it eats that portion in between the bark and the heartwood. And probably if you look carefully, you might find a borer here or there, but pretty much they fed on this tree. There's no survival for this tree. As you can see, it's been completely girdled. All the cambial layer has been taken away. So what do? With this tree, there's nothing you can do. But if you have an uninfected tree, you can treat them. Always follow the label directions for all chemicals, but it's a treatment you pour around the base. It's absorbed into the tree, and it lasts for about a year. So if you do get the borers, when they feed on this, they die. Two products, one is Bonide Annual Tree and Shrub, and the other one is Bio Advanced Dual Action Tree Formula, and they both last for about a year. Use them around the tree, and you can at least save your trees that have not been infected yet. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley. Coming up on Heart of the Home, banana black walnut scones. We hope you'll stay with us.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch. Get some exercise. Spend time with their friends. And then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
When the cold winds of winter blow, comfort foods are definitely in order. Chef Tammy Brawley shares her recipe for a bakery treat, homemade scones, in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. We are here today to make some delicious scones. I love doing these. These are great breakfast foods, great brunch foods. I have come up with basically a base recipe for scones, and then you can change your flavor components. The recipe you'll see is going to say oatmeal scones. That's going to always be in the scones, but today we're actually going to add banana and black walnut, probably one of my favorite ones to ever make. And what you want to do is actually want to start out by toasting your oatmeal. This is plain Quaker oats, not the quick ones, but just the ones that take a little while. Put them on a sheet tray in your oven for about 8 or 9 minutes till they just pick up a little bit of brown, a little bit of toasting. Don't walk away from that, maybe even set a timer, and then pull those out and let those cool. While they're cooling, we're going to make the remaining part of the dough. So what we're going to do here is we have a 1.5 cups of flour. We're going to put it in our food processor. We're going to add a 1/3 cup sugar. We're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to process that up just a little bit. And we're going to add some delicious bits of goodness in the form of 10 tablespoons of butter. I've cut them into cubes. Makes it a little easier for the food processor. Just drop them in a little bit at a time. You can leave it a little crumbly, it's totally fine. Oh, that looks great. We're going to come back and we're going to add it to our bowl. And we're not done with the food processor. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. And then to the flour and baking powder and sugar and salt, you're going to add your toasted oatmeal. Doesn't need to come together. You want to, well, not really come together, but you want to make sure you don't have just chunks of the flour and butter. So you go ahead and mix it together like this. It's great to get in there with your hands. We encourage playing with our food in the kitchen. And now back to the food processor, we're actually going to add a 1/4 cup milk and a 1/4 cup heavy cream, or a 1/2 cup of half and half if you prefer. Totally fine to use that as a substitute. And then to that, you're actually going to crack an egg. Now I'm going to go ahead and crack an egg over a little measure here. I can't tell you how many times I've cracked an egg directly into my product and then it's got shell in it, and then you spend time trying to get that out. So it's better if you crack it into a separate container. I don't see any shell, thankfully. Put that in our food processor. And now we're going to pounce this up just a little bit and add some imitation banana extract, just about a 1/2 teaspoon. However, that is not where all the banana flavor is going to come from. How many of you, me included, have bought bananas and they go bad before you get a chance to eat them? I always throw mine in the freezer because I do make this recipe a lot, but I also do a lot of banana breads. They do turn black. They're not going to be very pretty, but they're still very, very functional. Now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to make sure there's no strings, hopefully. And I'm going to add that whole banana into our food processor with the cream and the egg. It's kind of gross looking, but it's still going to be delicious. We're going to blend that. It's perfect. That banana being frozen is going to add a little thickness to it as well. Now you want to reserve a little bit of this cream mixture for glazing at the end. I'll explain that to you in a few moments. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our mix. We're going to add about a 1/2 cup, maybe 3/4 cup of black walnuts. Some of you might have a black walnut tree in your yard. These are fantastic. They offer a lot more flavor than just plain walnuts, and I love using them. Now I'm going to add in that cream and banana mixture. So now what we have is our cream mixture, which has the banana processed in it, and we've added some black walnuts to the oatmeal and flour mixture here. Our scone dough is coming together quite nicely. Now we're going to transfer this mixture to our board. I've put down a piece of parchment paper. It's a great little tool to use to keep it from sticking. Oh yeah, there we go. So now I've got a nice ball of scone dough to put out on my board. It's nice and together, but you can turn it over just to make sure, and then you want to start patting it out a little bit. I get it down to about 1 inch or so thick, maybe a little less, but you want to try to be as even as you can. You would like nice even portions when these bake. Now the little tip that I was talking about a little while ago is using one of these medieval looking tools here. This is actually a pie separator or pie portion. I put it into the middle and I mark my lines. Do you have to have one of these to do these? No, absolutely not. You can certainly use a knife. You just want nice even portions. You're going to come back and you're going to cut down on the scone on those lines that you've just worked so hard to make. And you don't have to cut all the way through the paper. You just want to get the scones marked. You want to have a sheet tray ready. My oven is on 425. I like to face them in the opposite direction for nice even cooking. Again, that's not something you have to do. It's just something I've done all these years and I'm so used to it. And then you want to come back to that reserved cream mixture that we separated out at the beginning. So we're just going to use a spoon and we're just going to sprinkle or spread a little bit of our cream mixture on top of our scones. Now keep in mind that this cream mixture also has the flavor of that processed banana in it and that little bit of banana extract. And then in the scone itself are those delicious black walnuts. And then you want to come back with some raw sugar or turbinado, just some brown cane sugar. You really don't want to use white sugar for this. This just caramelizes that much better. Sprinkle that right over the top. And these are going to go in the oven for about 15 minutes or so. All right, and here we are, banana black walnut scones fresh out of the oven. We want to take them and platter them a little bit. These are absolutely delicious with coffee, with tea. They're a little too hot to bite right now, but they're fabulous. Banana black walnut scones with oatmeal. I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
You can't have flour without grinding wheat or other grains, and grain mills were a vital part of early Virginia's economy. Wheat was almost as valuable as tobacco in colonial Virginia and was the crop George Washington used to rejuvenate his plantation land. Millers generally used water power to turn massive grinding stones in the 18th and 19th centuries. Today's grain mills are highly automated and efficient. Virginia farmers raise mostly soft winter wheat, which is used to bake crackers, cookies, and pastries. Hard wheat from the Midwest is the principal ingredient for bread and rolls.
Most meat sold in supermarkets is processed in large, out-of-state facilities. Norm Hyde reports students at Virginia Tech and Virginia State University are learning the art and skills needed to become local meat processors.
Both supply shortages from the pandemic and market trends have consumers clamoring for local meats. But there are relatively few licensed and inspected local butcher shops in the Old Dominion, and they're frequently booked up a year in advance. So there's an opportunity for new companies to expand into the business if they can find the workers they need. And that's where Virginia Tech's Meat Lab comes in. Students from across the university, not just agriculture, are paid to work here. They learn how to harvest and process meat from livestock raised in university herds.
And so what they're doing is they're trimming those off, and then what they're really trying to get at is you're trying to get about 5 to 6 pretty thick cut steaks, and then usually get kind of towards the end where it tapers down. We call that a tender tail. We sell that as a small roast.
Jordan Wicks has worked as a meat cutter and leads the classes. Between 10 and 12 students each year choose to work at the Meat Lab part-time, earning a paycheck and learning the craft of meat cutting.
Some of these students are studying ag business. Some of them are studying animal sciences. Some of them have aspirations to go and work in the meat industry, and others understand that this is a great opportunity to help them better understand the agricultural industry and don't necessarily plan on working in meat fabrication and processing, but can take these same concepts into their future careers.
You take off the silver skin, the membrane. It's tough. It doesn't really cook down. You just kind of trim up all the connective tissue, so that way when the consumer gets it home and cooks it, whenever they go to eat it, they have a good product that they're gonna be happy with.
The Virginia Tech Meat Lab sells the end product to customers, usually from Montgomery County. So these students learn how to interact with the buyers, as well as new marketing techniques.
Doing social media, that's been a big thing that, probably 15 years ago, or even 5 years ago, we weren't as worried about students learning that stuff. But now this is stuff that it's definitely part of our industry and all the industry. So the students get to participate in that and, take pictures and post things and respond back to people's comments and things of that nature.
In another part of the state, a slightly different learning experience is shaping up for would-be meat processors. At Virginia State University, a small ruminant mobile meat processing unit has been custom-built for use by goat and sheep producers, who take a 6-month course on how to process their own livestock. It's the only type of mobile unit of its kind in the country, custom-built thanks to grants from the USDA and in cooperation with the Virginia Department of Agriculture's Office of Meat and Poultry Services.
We brought VDACs on board because they were the ones that were going to do the grant of inspection. We wanted them to be intimately involved with the design of the unit, and so we toured a couple of units that were out there, came up with a final design. So it took a while. Then when it got here, there was some tweaking to do on the unit.
Dr. Delia O'Brien came to VSU in 2015 and saw there was a growing need for some sort of meat processing unit for goats and sheep. As Virginia's immigrant population grows, so does the demand for meat from these animals. Virginia farmers are happy to raise them, but are having difficulty getting them to market. Now that the unit is ready and staff has been hired, producers are lining up to take the 6-month course. The first class of 20 students just earned their certifications last month. The next class is already full and starts learning in February.
There are a lot of producers, small homestead producers, who are interested in having that animal, or they been born on that farm and harvested at that farm. It is extremely important. There are more and more consumers, especially those going to farmers markets, that are looking for fresh, local. And you can't call something being imported from Australia or New Zealand fresh or local.
The mobile processing unit is completely independent. It can supply its own water and electricity on the farm if needed. O'Brien strongly believes this will be one way to help farmers meet the growing demand for locally processed meats. Wick says teaching students the craft of processing fresh meat is a vital link in the food chain.
Here we are working with a product that obviously we need to take utmost concern in trying to make the best quality possible. And there's a lot of science behind that. And that's what these students learn in class. But also food safety is really important as well, right? That's one of our number one things that we're concerned about is food safety. So the students learn about, the different risks that are possible. And so they go ahead and they're able to, take that education and make sure that they put parameters in place to protect the food and keep it safe and wholesome.
Two different approaches to learning the craft of meat cutting in two different parts of the state. The future's looking brighter for local meat supplies in the Old Dominion. In Blacksburg, Virginia, I'm Norm Hyde reporting.
We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
Hey, it's Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
You said make it bigger, baby. The bigger the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.